Hello, everybody. That's Sherri Echols here with my lending partner, Milynda Hallermann with SWBC Mortgage. Excuse me. We're here going to talk about an exciting change to VA loans today. And then we'll give you a little bit of a market update for the Bryan-College Station area for June of 2024. This is super exciting, isn't it, Milynda?
Yes, we are finally starting to get some guidance on what had everyone concerned for a little while. One of the first things that came up for a lot of us after the proposed NAR settlement was, what does this mean for veteran buyers?
Yeah, right. Everybody's kind of freaking out over who's going to pay buyer's agent commission. And, just to be clear, even for not VA people, sellers can still pay it. They're just saying they don't have to, which is the same as it's always been. Commission's always been negotiable. They have had the option to pay it or to not. Now it's just like, I don't know why it's so different now. It just, people are just kind of becoming aware of that. I don't know why, but I mean, it should have been explained in, in the listing agreement and in the buyer's representation agreement. So the national,
I think that Texas was a lot stronger in that than a lot of other states. So what we're seeing is other states not doing the due diligence the way Texas had been.
Okay, well, so the National Association of Realtors has been working with the VA diligently to protect our VA people so that they don't get stuck not being able to buy homes. So tell us a little bit about what you know about this change that the VA has made for VA buyers.
Well, a little bit of backstory. VA has always been the loan type that expressly prohibited a veteran buyer from paying for the buyer's agent. So that was a stipulation that made it different. And so, of course, when this NAR settlement came up, those of us who do a lot of VA were like, wait, what about us? And so this has been some guidance. I think it was the guidance that everyone was hoping for and expecting. So this just came through June 11th is when this got released from the VA. They have released a new circular. If you want to know the actual name, it is Circular 26-24-14. And this is some temporary guidance for how to handle the buyer's agency fee. So this goes, and another important thing, this is not immediate. This doesn't take immediate effect. This goes into effect August 10th. So this gives us a couple months to figure out what to do with this, how to handle it. So what it does is it's going to give, it's going to give you basically three ways to handle how is the buyer's agent going to get paid. And number one, first option is same thing that we've always been doing. All right. The seller agrees to pay the seller's agent a certain percentage of commission, and then the seller's agent then agrees to remunerate the buyer's agent a certain percent of commission. As you said, like it's always been. Okay.
Yeah.
No change.
A second way would be to have your buyer's agent try to negotiate that with the seller's agent, and the seller, if it's not already given, then they could try to negotiate it in where they would get paid all, or at least part of it. Maybe they would meet you part way and then you pay the rest. So
yes, exactly. So and just conversation and negotiation has been a big discussion point about the NAR settlement, and it is here too for that option. So basically that's the default, I guess, what we've been doing. The number two option is to try to factor the buyer's agent commission or the buyer's broker commission into the purchase price of the house. So you are basically writing it in to the contract as part of the house, and you are going to specify in the contract that X amount will go to buyer's agent as their commission. Okay, the hang up here is that the house has to appraise. And so
we've done this. I've done this before with some of my VA buyers. If they need some help with the closing costs that they do have, to roll that into the price of the home. So it looks like the house is selling for more than what the asking price was, but as long as it appraises, then that amount could be rolled into the into the note. Yeah.
So this one can be a very viable option. I think it's probably going to be real property specific. How much room have you got in there to negotiate and alter that? Okay, and then the next question is, well, what if the house doesn't appraise for the contract
Yeah.
price? And it is important to note that the veteran buyer can pay an appraisal gap. Always has been able to pay an appraisal gap. Caveat there is that it has to be out of their own funds. We can't cover an appraisal gap with gift funds. So you can still have gift funds in the transaction. They just can't cover that portion of the transaction. So that would be number two.
If something came up in that instance, could a
Mhm.
gift cover other closing costs?
Yes,
Then they
yes,
could
that's
move
you could,
their
yeah,
down payment or
exactly.
whatever to the, yeah, okay, so
So
we
you can
can
still
move
have
things
gift,
around.
yes, you can still have gift funds in that transaction. They just can't, there have to be enough of the veteran's own funds to cover this, okay,
Yeah.
to cover that appraisal gap.
Okay,
So, and number three is, we just include it as a line item in closing costs. So, and that would be, we're not involving the seller's agent, we're not involving the seller, none of that. It is strictly something you are working out, and your veteran buyer is paying you as their agent directly for services, and it'll be a line item on the CD.
okay. Well, I mean, that seems fairly straightforward and pretty simple. This is just a huge announcement because it's always been that the
Yeah.
veteran cannot pay
It-
broker fee. And there's other things too, like they're not supposed to pay for the wood destroying insect inspection. It was my
Well,
understanding from what I
Well,
read.
and that is a good example of the VA changing. Okay, I mean, and they're a monolith, changes slow, but it used to be that the veteran couldn't pay for the termite inspection. I remember that, and then the VA kind of updated its policies. That was perceived to be a disadvantage for the veteran borrower because you were basically making the seller pay it. In most cases, seller wound up paying it.
Yeah.
And it was going to put that veteran's offer at a disadvantage
Right.
compared to a non-VA offer. So they changed it. And I think that this is another example of them realizing they had to change this. If they didn't, veteran buyers were going to be at a distinct disadvantage. So this had to change. And as an aside, that's why you're seeing changes in VA appraisal. They recently had a long comment period, and they've had enough feedback from agents and veteran buyers that the VA appraisal was in many cases a barrier for the VA buyer. And so
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
VA is considering changing that even. So I'm just, but this one they did act really quickly on for the VA. This was like lightning speed. Because we all have to get ready for this, and they didn't want to put the veterans at a disadvantage. So now this really kind of put them on a level playing field with any buyer.
That's awesome. Totally amazing. And just a comment on that VA appraisal thing. That was a big deal. There are the minimum property requirements that they have to operate in accordance with, right? The appraisers
Yeah.
do. That's like making sure you have a good roof, you have potable water, your sewer's good, your well is good if you have a well, air conditioning works. It's the safety, health and safety issues for the most part.
Right.
And then like wood destroying insects, if they find anything, that has to be repaired and put back to good before closing happens. So that was I've had closings delayed a few days for those kinds of things to happen. And then, roofs have to be replaced before closing. So that's a big commitment. And it can be a barrier. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
I've got a listing right now in a smaller town that is a VA loan, and we had the appraisal done like over a week ago, and it hasn't come back yet. So I'm like wondering, but I know it needs a roof, and it just
Yeah.
needs. So maybe they'll count that as, update
Yeah.
cosmetic stuff and they'll let it slide. I don't know, but
They're definitely, I think hopefully we are going to see it move more in that direction. Yeah. Just trying to make a VA appraisal easier for everyone. So
well, hopefully it still leaves the VAs with a good house that's got, all the things that you need for health and safety. We don't want them to
right.
get to a home that's not going to be safe for them, especially, what they've sacrificed on our behalf. We want them to have a good home, but we don't want
Right.
that to be a barrier for them. So this is an exciting change. It is temporary. So we'll see what happens when the dust settles a little bit.
Mhm.
These are, this has been a big uproar, and the news media has made such a they've changed it around and made it very sensational and like it's a bigger change than it really is for the NAR stuff. So, they've created quite an uproar, which is what they always do. So hopefully people will start seeing what the change is actually going to be and that it's all going to be okay.
It's going to be some transition for a while, because I agree in some ways this was much ado about nothing, at least much ado about
Exactly.
nothing new, really.
Yeah, right.
So, but hey, that's click sell papers, right? So, but I think there is going to be several months transition. There was when the lending industry had to change all of our documents back in 2015. We kind of went through this in 2015, and there's a whole bunch of not knowing exactly what they're going to have to keep putting out guidance, and there's going to have to keep being updates to things. That's just the nature of the beast. But
Yeah.
there will be a new normal again. We'll get back to normal after this in just a few months, I think.
Yeah. And then the news media can go focus on something else.
Yes.
That'll be good. Well, I'm excited about this, and I know a lot of people. I was worried about, what about the veterans? What's going to happen there if it keeps heading in this direction. So I'm glad that they're covered on that. So, okay. Do you have any other points on that or any other thoughts?
Just for everyone to remember that it doesn't start till August 10th. It is temporary. This is definitely going to be a learn as we go kind of situation for everyone in the industry. But yes, it's huge and it's wonderful, and we are all grateful the VA moved as quickly as it did on this.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'd like to spend a couple minutes going over kind of what's going on in our market, because that's the first thing everybody asks me when I'm out and about is what's going on in the market? How's the market? And I had a conversation with a few clients last night when I rolled back into town. So looking at the statistics for the last month in Bryan, the median price point was $284,625. So right around 285 is the median price. That's up 3.1% from May of last year. So small increase, but still an increase. I think, we're seeing lots of price reductions in the MLS, and I think that's people are probably maybe pricing a little too aggressively, trying to get out ahead of the market to get more profit. But, then it sits a while, then they lower their price, and then they end up with a stale listing. It's, it's just a whole thing. So it's really important to be strategic in your pricing so you don't end up with a listing that just sits there forever. But, we still are seeing appreciation and prices going up. The active listings are up 66.7%. There are 280 listings in May of this year in Bryan. Amazing, right? So this inventory is
I don't know what to say. I wasn't expecting to hear that number.
Inventory is breaking loose a little bit. There, even though interest rates are high, they're not like 18% like they were back in the 80s. They're higher than they were in 2020, but people are getting used to that, I think, and they're still having to move. There are job changes.
That's exactly what this is. That's exactly what this is. People have gotten used to it. It's not going away, at least not right now. And like you said, some people still need to move. Yeah.
So the closed sales were up 8.6% over last year. There were 114 in Bryan that closed this last month. Days on market were up 7 days in Bryan. So it's taking a little bit longer for houses to sell. It's not quite the rush that it was. In the price ranges, 90% of all the sales in Bryan were 500,000 or below. So that says only 10% of the houses that were sold cost more than 500,000 in Bryan in the month of May, which is, that's an interesting number. Those higher dollar listings may be waiting a little bit longer.
Yeah, I agree.
So in Bryan, there are 3.6 months of inventory, and in 2023, there was 1.8 month. 1.8 month is like a real seller's market. 3.6 is still a seller's market, but it's headed toward balanced. We get to 4, 5, 6. That's pretty balanced market. So we're headed in that direction. So things should kind of balance out and normalize. I think, this year we have the higher rates, we have high inflation, and we have an election year, and we have these NAR changes. So there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of things going on. So, it might get faster. We're a growing community. So I think that, we're going to keep having to good market here for a good amount of time. As long as we're growing, I think it'll be good. Then in the College Station side, the median price was 338,000, and that is flat over last year. No up, no
Okay.
down. That was interesting.
Yeah.
And then in College Station, 80% of all the sales sold last month were below 500,000. So a few more in the higher ranges, but really, in the only like 1.5% were a million or over. So the rest were in between the 500 and a million. Active listings in College Station were up 98.6%. So almost double, 421 listings in May. Closed sales were 3.3% in May over last year. There were 158 that sold in College Station. Days on market in College Station was up 9 days from last year. So then this is kind of an average number. So, they're going to be either end, on the high end and the low end, but it's taking longer to sell. So people get impatient and they start getting worried, but it's just going to take some time. In College Station, then we have 3.8 months of inventory, and it was 1.7 last year. So they're also headed towards more balanced. It's still a seller's market technically, but getting more balanced. So yeah, every time I open the the hot sheet, I'm seeing, a bunch of price reductions and even some expires and that kind of thing. Usually when a listing expires, it tells us either the price was too high, the location's terrible, or the marketing was non-existent. Those are the three reasons, and price is predominant in that. You can market a house like crazy and spend all kind of marketing dollars on it, and if the price is too high, it's still going to sit there. So strategic pricing, folks. Don't want to, we don't want to try to go way above the sales comps. It's better to go just a little bit below, I think. In that way, you encourage maybe multiple offers that might drive it up. And the more ready to move in your house is, the more neutral it is, the more, clean and how, it looks like somebody would want to come in and park there, the more likely to sell faster. So that's what I got on the market. Things are up still. It feels like it's slow, but it's really not. So going good. We're still eating.
Yep. I've got people out there with pre-approvals taking longer to find stuff than I expected. So maybe that's why it seems slow, but it's really not. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think the sense of urgency is gone.
Yeah.
There's more inventory, so there's more to pick from. They're not just slapping offers down on whatever's available in their price range. They can be a little more selective and,
And that's true. And this may be yet another indicator of moving toward a more balanced market, is we're not seeing the franticness in the buyers. So
yeah. And we'll see what happens with our commission. I still think, sellers would want to cover at least most of the buyer's agent commission. You're going to have a much larger pool of buyers that will come and look at your house. If they can't afford to pay the down payment and the closing costs and the commission, they're going to go find a listing where the seller is going to pay their buyer's agent commission. So keep that in mind, folks. If you're thinking about making that savings, you might end up losing a bunch of money by not offering that well, I don't want to say 3%, but whatever the percent is that's negotiated. So
So yeah, I think it's going to take some good seller education in those listing appointments, and just some honest talking with sellers about maybe trying to save money, and the commission is going to be a false economy when they get that lower contract price than they thought.
Yeah, exactly. Times are changing, but the only constant is change. So we just have to adapt. We just got to adapt and roll with it. So
that's our business.
Exactly.
Real estate.
I think it's important to mention in times of change, if you get veteran agent and veteran loan officer who's been through lots of market changes, they're not going to get as excited about things, and they're going to see a clearer path, and they're going to have more options for you and more
Mhm.
ideas on, successful ways to work through any
Yep.
situation that pops up. So think about that when you're interviewing agents. And, if you are out there interviewing agents, I've prepared lists of questions to ask both buyers agents and sellers agents. So if that's of interest to you, hit me up and I'll shoot it to you. I guess that's what we've got for today.
Yeah,
Is
short,
there?
short, sweet, and very, very big news.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
So we heard of another company that we're not sure if it's veteran owned, but they do lots of good things for veterans. What's the name of that company you sent me? It's a cookie company, right?
oh, yes, it is a cookie company.
Let
Oh
me look at my
gosh,
text message. We want to give
I was
them a
gonna say,
shout out.
I can't look at my text message.
It is Dirty Dough.
Okay, that's the name.
Dirty Dough on Wildflower Drive in Bryan.
Yes, that's over by
They're
Bryan Target. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
they're all about supporting our veterans. So if you're in the mood for a cookie, go to Dirty Dough on Wildflower. Thank you for supporting our veterans, guys. That's real important here. We have tons of veterans in our community, and I love that we have so many veteran owned and veteran supporting businesses in the area. So that's another thing too. If you know of something that's veteran owned that we haven't hit yet, we do have a list and we're always willing to add to that. We like to go on location and give these businesses a shout out.
Mhm.
So let us know if you know of something.
We would love to come by and say hi to y'all too.
Exactly. Well, until next time.
Yes, sounds good. All right. Happy house hunting, y'all. So.
Happy house hunting.